So welcome tonight. I'm Cliff. This is our November competition, the last competition of the year. So first, Oz, do you have any announcements you want to make for the general group?
Yeah, so just to remind everybody that we will have a meeting on December 8th, I think it is. And that's when the awards will be announced, and announce also who moves up from one class to the other. And we need to vote on the officers for this coming year, just to make it official. So we'll do that in the December meeting as well. So that's about it for me. And yeah, as I said, we've got two programs, January and February. So if anyone wants to help with that or other programs, step right up. So that's it for me. So let's continue on.
All right. Okay, thanks, Oz. So tonight's competition is night photography, and pretty simple definition: an image of any subject taken outdoors between sunset and sunrise. And then tonight's judge is John Nilsson, joining us from LA. So John's been taking pictures since the late 70s, and an active practitioner of real estate and architectural photography during his 40-year career as a real estate broker. And after retiring, John has continued his hobby as a nature and landscape photographer through active membership in the Sierra Club Camera Committee. He's also continued with his vocation as an architectural and real estate photographer through his company, Oz Images LA. John is currently chairman of the Sierra Club Angeles Chapter Camera Committee, a large group of nature, wildlife, landscape, and conservation photographers in the LA Basin. John is also the publisher of Focal Points Magazine, a monthly digital publication featuring photography and stories by Camera Committee members. So welcome, John. Anything more that you would like to add?
Well, I think that just about covers it. I have had a lot of experience and background in the last 45 years in photography of nature, and the last 40 years before I moved to LA were in Vail in the Colorado Mountains. So I'm well familiar with your area, and still consider myself a Colorado resident.
Well, good. Well, thanks, John. Well, tonight we have about 24 images, so 3 in F5.6, 4 in F8, and F11, and 9 in F16. So a little lighter than usual, probably, could be due to the holiday week and, rearranging our time tonight. But nevertheless, we'll follow in the same way that we usually do. Any black and whites in the group, we'll go through group by group. Any black and white images will be showed first, and then the color images. After each category, any images that scored a 9 or a 10, we'll ask the maker to just give a few words about that image, any special technique or information they think the membership might find useful. So if everyone could please mute themselves, appreciate that. And then first image here is moon through clouds and trees.
I'm going to start with my first question here. Is that image upside down?
Upside down? I don't believe so. It doesn't look like it to me.
It's okay. All right. I looked at it briefly last night, and I turned it the other direction, and it to me it looked a little bit more better composed. But I guess that's my first comment here. I'd like to see in a black and white photo that has very little detail, I'd like to see the main subject being in the upper right-hand side of the photograph. That just seems to feel better to me than this one does. My eye is hunting for whether or not I'm looking at a reflection in a lake. Now, maybe that's just me, but that's my first comment on that. I am I'm pretty well versed on black and white photography. It's all I've been doing for the last couple of years. One other thing I'd like to see to make this a little bit more impactful would be a little more light in this photo than we have. It's almost just a silhouette. Maybe that was the intention, but I'd like to see more detail in the tree and in the bush on the right. And once again, my eye just doesn't want to go down below to see the thing that's drawing it. So I guess if I were to judge the success of this photo, I would say technically it needs a little bit more concentration on the light in the photo. I'd like to see more detail than we're seeing. I know that's difficult when you've got really a bright subject here, but I would like to see a little more than just the bright subject. And it's a little bit too limited for my taste. I think it's a good photo. I think it would be classified as an 8. It has some minor flaws to it. Composition wise, I think it could be better. But generally speaking, it has a nice mood about it. And that's one thing I'd like to state here. When I look at a photo, I like to see good light. I like to see the moment. That's an important thing in any photo. The subject and the composition. All 4 of those are necessary to really make a great photo. I think this has got a couple of those items, but needs to reach a little more into the bag. So that might be the comments that I'd have for this one.
Okay, thank you. That was an 8, right?
That would be an 8.
Okay. Okay, moon and lighthouse, eye, the harbor.
Yeah, okay. First comment, technically, this photograph is a little bit out of focus. It's the subject, which is the lighthouse, in my eye, is not quite dead on. Also, the horizon is tilted, so you want to be real careful about that, especially in a night photo that has a very defined line. The colors are really nice in this photo, and the composition is excellent. Obviously, we've taken this photo at a very low shutter speed because we've got a very smooth surface on the water there. If it looks sharp on yours, it's obviously sharp. I do not see the sharpness in that, so it's probably just the zoom.
Probably zoom artifact, yeah.
Yeah. So I like the way the composition is incorporated the moon through the clouds. It's almost surrealistic, and if that's actually how it was, that was a very lucky shot. And congratulations, because it comes off very well. With the sharpness involved and with the minor detraction of the horizon being out of it's not flat. That horizon is not flat. It goes down to the right. I think that would be the only thing that would bring me down from a 10 on that one. I'd have to give it a 9, but that horizon is important, and it's something that should not have been missed.
Okay, they're all aboard. Oh.
I love the color in this photo. You're using all natural light here. When I first saw this photo last night, I took a brief look at it. I really wanted to see more detail in it, which I believe would have required some Photoshop wizardry and or a small flash like the the Lumicubes that we have coming out right now, just to add a little bit of detail to this photo. It's sharp, it's well composed. To me, it tells a nice story, and I love the sky. The sky is really interesting. And we have several bright lights, but they don't overpower, and they give a really nice definition to the caboose. I guess I'd say I'd have to like this photo a lot, and I'd probably look at giving this a 9 also. If we had a little more light on the detail, I'd give it a 10.
Okay, so that is all for the F5.6. So this image, why don't you just keep that one up there, Carl, because that's William Williams. All aboard. If you want to just say a couple words about it. He must not be on. Okay. Moon and Lighthouse Eye in the Harbor. This is Terry Hanford.
This is at the Duluth, the mouth of the Duluth Harbor on Lake Superior. And yeah, this was a classic ring around the moon, sailor's doom light. I didn't create it. It was there. And I really enjoyed the light of it coming across the harbor, and then the light coming from the lighthouse. I was standing on the jetty just on the other side where there is another lighthouse, so I was able to get out fairly far into the harbor to get this shot. And it was an HRD. I took 3 shots and a fairly long time. Thank you.
All right.
Terry, this is
Thanks.
Oz. Do you know about how long the exposure was?
I don't recall, Oz, but it probably was 10 seconds or so.
Okay.
I'll look that up and I'll send it out to you. But
No, that's good enough. Around 10 seconds.
It was actually 2 seconds.
okay,
I just looked at the metadata. It's 2 seconds.
Thank
right.
you.
So it's a composite though of 3 different pictures.
Yeah.
So one of them may have been longer than 2 seconds.
Gotcha, right?
But the light coming from the lighthouse and actually from the moon was so bright that I really had to do HRD on this.
All right, next we got the F8 group, Painless.
Okay, comments, nicely composed. I like the detail in the black and white. I like the contrast in the black and white. It's very well done. If you worked it in Photoshop or some other method, you did a nice job of that. My question is why the subject? Was this a subject that you were photographing because it had specific reason to you, or were you just doing it for the light? To me, the subject is more of a newspaper type photograph. It has no interest to anybody who is looking for a scenic impact. It's a well done photograph, but I question the moment, the subject, and I just wonder why it was taken. If the gentleman could comment on that, I'd be love to hear it. Maybe I could change my mind on that.
Yeah, should I comment now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's I like the humor in it, the juxtaposition of a pot dispensary and a dentistry advertising how they soothe their services.
Oh, I'm glad you explained that, because I didn't catch that. Twin Peaks dispensary it didn't ring home as to what it was to me.
Yeah,
sorry.
big deal in Colorado.
Yeah, I didn't. Okay, well, I guess.
Steve, the dentist looks like it's closed. What were you doing there?
had this assignment from a photo club and I had to do something.
There you go. Well, I guess my only other comment would be that the Twin Peaks dispensary, the sign is a little blown out there.
Yeah.
So that would be a negative. You might be able to adjust that out in Photoshop and make that just a little bit less blown out. And I think if that were done, I'd probably say that it's a pretty well done photograph, and I'd certainly give it a 9.
Okay, next is Night Rider.
Mhm. This one, my initial reaction when I saw it is I liked it. It's extremely well exposed, and it's a good subject. It leads your eye. It's got very, very linear. It's a street scene we've all seen a lot. I kind of wish we didn't have the car in there. I don't know. I like to look at the subject of the rider and the arrow pointing off in the distance, but the car seems to draw my eye up to it. I would have waited for the car not to be there. And I think you'd have a 9 on that one for sure without the car. I would have to say that because of the car and what it does to my attention, I'd have to give it an 8.
Venus dazzles in the twilight sky.
What was the focus point? Was it Venus? Well, the focus is on the star, but that's about only where the focus is. I would like to see more focus in the sky. I don't think you get much better focus on the lake because of the depth of field, but I think it's a little out of focus for my taste. I'd like to see more detail in the mountains and the clouds. Colors are beautiful. The subject is a star, and so I guess I've got to say there's a subject there. I'd give that an 8.
Reflections and silhouettes after sunset.
This is a beautiful photograph. It's well done technically. It's composed beautifully. I would say that there'd be very little you could do to improve on that photograph. I'd give that a 10.
Okay, and that is all for the F8 group. So this one here, this 10, this is Joe Weber. Is Joe on?
Yes, I am. And so this was at a lake that I photographed 5 or 6 nights in a row, probably a couple weeks ago. And the colors were just amazing. And I liked the silhouettes. And the Venus dazzles in the previous slide was another one that I took. Venus just happened to appear in the sky through the clouds, and I liked it. But I like this one better. So thank you.
And then the 9 we had was Painless, which Steve Wilton. I don't know if there's anything more you wanted to say about that one.
Just that it was taken with a iPhone 12 Pro Max, and it is blown out there. That is word dispensary, and I tried my best to get rid of it. I just have to get better at Photoshop for getting rid of those blown out parts of a photo.
Yeah, you should be able to get that a little better in Photoshop.
Good. Okay.
Thank
you, John.
That's there for it. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, so that's it for F8. On to F11. Illumined.
This is a technically a very, very good photograph. It's extremely well exposed and very well focused. I guess my carp would be, I'd like to see more of the building. You're too close in this photograph. I think you would tell the story better if you step back about 10 feet, maybe 20 feet, and paid some attention to the verticals. Architectural photographs have to have their verticals straight, and this does not. It's easy to do in Lightroom, and I think it would make a world of difference in the quality of the photograph. Also, I'd like to see more at the base of the photograph. It looks like it's floating, and I like to see a building that is sitting on something. So with those in mind, I'd have to give this one an 8. I think if you step back and put more of this beautiful structure into the photograph, gave me some base to set it on, and improve the verticals, that would be a 10.
An aging warrior on the tarmac.
I love this photograph. I think it is, it's technically superb. I love the bolt of lightning coming in there in the back, and the detail is excellent. This photo tells me a story. I can just see that aircraft when it was in its heyday and what it was doing. The timing was perfect with water and the reflections. If I was going to just find something wrong with it, I'd have to say that the horizon is right dead in the center, and you might be able to help this photo a little bit by paying more attention to rule of thirds. I know that rules are made to be broken, and but I think in this case it would be improved with the attention to that horizon line, either up or down, but not right dead in the center. I don't find it to be distracting in this photograph, however, and so I would give this one a 10.
Gateway to the West.
I'm having trouble with this photograph in focusing on what I want to look at. I've got the arch, which obviously is the subject of this photograph, but I've also got some compositional problems on the right-hand side. My eye wants to go off to the right, and it doesn't want to focus on the arch. I think I see what the attempt was, that we're trying to get the leading lines on the right-hand side. But that center focus, the center thing that draws your eye to it, I don't know what it is, and I don't know why I'm looking at it. I would have preferred to see the bridge from the left and looking up through the arch towards the buildings. So compositionally, this one doesn't handle it for me. Technically, it's a pretty good photograph. It's a little bit shaky on its focus on my screen. It could be that it is sharper than that. And I like the fact that the water is very flat because of the long exposure time. I think this photograph has enough small flaws in it, however, that I'd have to give it an 8.
An evening hanging out.
When I saw this photograph, I wanted to see a deacon in his dark cloak standing there. I couldn't figure out what the miscellaneous persons around this photo were trying to say, or what it was just trying to tell me. It was just people hanging out. The photograph, the background is very nice. It's a heck of a building, but I just can't see the reason for the composition with the folks in front. I'd almost rather have seen no one there as what's there, because it doesn't tell a story to me anyway. I would give this one a 9.
Color burst.
Well, it's a pretty standard photograph of a fireworks event. The subject is obviously the fireworks. I've seen 100,000 photos like this. So I would ask that for this photo to be improved, that there be something in the foreground that either tells you kind of where this is happening and coming off, or gives your eye something to light on. To me, this is just a photograph of a starburst that doesn't have a great deal of reason for being taken. It's beautiful and it's well done, but why? So I give that one an 8.
Midnight at the Oasis.
This is a nice photograph. You've got some detail in the foreground that I like to see. You've got a really nice subject there with the moon. It has a definite pattern to it. It has moment. And I like the subject. I love palm trees, so I'm off base on that. But yeah, it's a very nice photograph. I can't fault it, so I'd have to give it a 10.
Stars and Dreams.
I would like to see a little attention to the color balance on this. It's a little bit too blue for me. Admit it's at night and it's a blue night, but it looks too blue. And I would like to see a little more light in the foreground. My eye goes to the back where it should, but I want to see more detail in the foreground. You've got a foreground here that's not being utilized. Perhaps you could dress that rock up a little bit with a little bit of light and give it a little bit more character in the picture. I like the moment, and I like the scene. I know the scene well. This is well done there. So it's a well composed photograph, but I just like you to play with the light a little bit and give me some less blue in the foreground. Let's give that one an 8.
Cold Night at Breckenridge.
Okay. This photograph doesn't have a reason to be there. There is no reason to take this photograph, in my view. There's no subject. The exposure is not well done. I'd like to see a little bit more detail. I don't know what I'm looking at. I know I'm looking at a street in Breckenridge, but why? Why am I? Where is the interest in this photo for somebody to see it hanging on a wall and say, I'd like to have that on my wall? No, I'm sorry, this just doesn't make it. And I would have to give it a 7.
All right, so that is it for F11. So we have 2 10s and 1 9. So this is An Aging Warrior on the Tarmac. Joe Razis. Is Joe on? I was really hoping he'd be on. I mean, all he's got for comments is B-17 taken at night in a light thunderstorm. I really want to know how he timed that bolt of lightning. If it just happened to get it on a longer exposure or what, but pretty cool. And then next one, this is Midnight at the Oasis, Bill Rothenmeier. Yeah, so is Bill not on today? He didn't have any comments. Okay, let's move on then to An Evening Hanging Out. That was Lucius Ashby.
This was in Barcelona, in Old Town, and we're just these people just hanging on a really nice evening in September. Just walking through the Old Town and stop and have a snack or have a drink or let the kids rest and just sitting on the steps hanging out.
Okay. All right, thanks, Lucius.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on to F16. Yeah, this is Dark Side.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this photograph. It creates kind of a question in my mind. What happened to the rest of the bike? from LA, you lock a bike up like this and it's gone in less than an hour. So I wonder if that's what the comment was in this photograph. And it does tell a nice story. It's got good mood and it's composed nicely. I like the leading lines that go from lower left to the right. The lighting is excellent in it. I'm having a hard time not giving this a 10. I think I would probably have to go that route.
Hotel, Fairplay, Colorado.
I like the composition on this photo. Maybe it's the way I'm looking at it, but it looks like the photographer attempted to correct a lot of areas that had lighting situations around the O, the inside of the O. We have halos. We have a halo on the H. It looked like he was trying, or she was trying to make a correction to the background that flowed better, so it made the photograph flow better. To my eye, it doesn't work. I like the idea. I like the composition. The clouds are beautiful above the hotel, but it looked like there's an awful lot of activity in working that photo over inside the framework. And that detracts from the photograph. If that was the intent or was the effort there, probably would have been better just to leave it alone. I would have to give this one an 8.
Supernatural.
Yeah, I think I know where that was taken, but that's it almost looks like a painting to me, doesn't it? It doesn't look like a photograph. Although I like it, I think it's very, very stylized, and I don't know whether that's the intent of your club to do that type of thing.
It's fair game, yeah.
Fair game, okay.
Yeah, anything goes.
Yeah. Well, I'd give this a 9.
Home on the Range.
This is a great photograph. It's well composed. It's well lit. It might be a little bright in the shed, but I don't find that to be bad at all. The Milky Way is spot on. It's just a spectacular job of seeing the Milky Way and of getting such sharpness on your subject in the foreground. That showed a lot of talent, and that is a 10 for sure.
December 24th.
Excuse me while I think about this one for a minute. It's a nice photograph. I don't know what it is about it that just doesn't ring my bell. The lights in it and the lights in general appear to be not in focus or blown out. Now, you might want to check me on that on your photo, but I like the exposure on it because it's does a beautiful job of blocking out any kind of contrasting items in the background. It's obviously obvious what the subject is, and it's a beautiful subject. Let's give that a 9.
Night Adventure.
Okay, I've got to admit to being a little bit prejudiced about photographs like this. The figure in the front just seems so out of character to the mood of the photograph. The Milky Way is on my screen is not as sharp, but as the last one I saw with the shed and gave a 10 to. It's not as good a shot of the Milky Way. The subject in the yellow coat just it's just too garish. Sorry, too much light on that subject. And I think it detracts from the photograph. So I'm going to give this one an 8.
A pre-sunset.
Very nice photograph. If that is the sky that was in the photograph and not touched in using some other means, that was a beautiful, beautiful timing on that photograph. Boy, I tell you, it's spectacular. I like every bit of it. Everything's well in focus on my screen even, and I love the stillness of the water. The scene is really, really nice. I'd give it a 10.
Check in at the Blue Swallow.
I like this photograph too. This one is well exposed. Using all natural light, obviously. You've got the right timing in the photograph because the sky is just about the right color temperature to add to the photograph. I like the subject, and I like the way the photograph is on the page. It's a great shot. I can see nothing to complain about except a little bit of blowout on the brighter stuff. But believe me, I know how hard that is when you've got this much contrast. I'd give this a 10.
Mysterious Garage.
This photograph is technically well done. It's not a balanced photograph in my eye, though. I'm trying to see the lights on both sides, and I only see one downlight on the one side and not a downlight on the other. And the tail lights are not in the center, which I'd like to see. I think technically it's a good shot. I think compositionally it's a little bit lacking, and that would be the only reason I wouldn't give it a 10. I'll give this one a 9.
All right, that is it for the F16 group. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 4 10s. I'm going to review those. This is Dark Side by Danny Lamb.
It was taken in at Union Station a few weeks ago. The scene really catch my attention. Is the first log has only one wheel, the next one has nothing at all. It's told a story.
Thanks, Danny. Home on the Range, it's Ron Schaller.
Yes, this was taken down near Westcliff, Colorado, out on a ranch, and it was a 20-second exposure, and I had a lume cube pointed at one of the inside corners, and it was at 1%, but on that length of exposure, it did tend to light it up a little bit too much, and I tried to tone it down some, but that's how it was done. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. And a pre-sunset, it's Todd Lytle.
Thank you. Once a year, I go on a camping trip down to 11 Mile State Park and Reservoir. So this is just about an hour west of the Springs, and I've done that for 4 or 5 years. The thing I consistently find to be true is that when the sunset time is established, I'm usually standing there to take a picture based on the time on my iPhone, but nothing ever happens. This particular photo was taken just about 10 minutes after the sunset, which is why I called it Après Sunset, to meet the definition of night photography. It's about 10 minutes after the sunset, but this is when, kind of all the action happens. The sun is well below the horizon, but it's reflecting up on those clouds. And this was also the time of year when there was still some of the fire stuff going on. So I think it added a little extra punch. But one of my favorite places in Colorado, easy to get to, fabulous camping, and good photography. That's
Thanks,
it.
Doug. And check in at the Blue Swallow is Dan Greenberg.
Yeah, this is the Blue Swallow Motel is a really famous Route 66 site. It's still an active hotel. We almost stayed there. This was taken 2 years ago in October. And basically, I've always wanted to get a night shot of it. And I've done a couple things to make sure that the tricky thing on these kind of shots is to make sure the neon doesn't totally blow out and you don't lose all the color in it. So it took a little bit of doing to get that right. But otherwise, it was a pretty standard shot. I just put, it was a reasonably not too long on exposure, but sitting on a tripod and so forth. And that was it.
So it's one exposure.
I can't remember. It might be two. It might be an HDR. It probably is actually.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I probably did an HDR with it because I usually do on those kind of things. So it's probably a 3 exposure HDR.
All right, and then we have three nines here. So Supernatural, this is also Dan Greenberg.
Right, and then this one was shot. Okay, so this is in John, you're probably right. You're probably thinking this is in Rhyolite, Nevada, and it is. And it's another type of thing that's kind of famous. And it was a night that this was only lit by. It was really hard to get a focus on it. We tried it a couple times, but basically it was like almost pitch dark. I got the focus by looking through my viewfinder with a little flashlight. And then later what happened, I was with a group of 3 people, and the lighting was done by these little light wand things that you can get from Amazon. And they change colors as they're going. So this is probably, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds. I don't remember how long, but basically there's a person there and he's moving the light wand around the statue. And then later on, this one took a lot of work because there was a lot of light balancing to do and dark spots and everything else. But in order to blend it all in, I used Topaz Glow on it to kind of give it the surreal appearance and blend the light in so it didn't look, so it looked like I wanted it to.
All right, thanks, Dan. And December 24th is Oz Vinegar.
I took this in Hudson Gardens a few years ago. There were some colored lights along the bottom that were a very different color than the rest of the picture, so I decided to take those out. And I think there was another person in the picture that I also took out. So that's it for this.
One more Mysterious Garage. This is also Oz.
Yeah, this was our neighbor's garage, and I was walking back after taking a picture of the lunar eclipse a couple of years ago, and thought it was pretty interesting, and that's what I got. The 2 lights on either side don't cast the same light, so get some asymmetry there. I actually liked the red color to be off center. I thought it would be less interesting if the lights happen to be in the middle. That's just my personal preference. So that's it.
All right, well, thanks, Oz. Well, that is everything. That's all we have tonight. So, John, I want to thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for the judging and the comments, and thank all the photographers who submitted images tonight. Last competition for the year. So we've got, like I said, one more meeting December 8th, and no competition in December. So we'll just get back onto it in January with the competitions again. But any final words, John?
Yeah. Well, this is Oz. I just want to thank everybody in the club for participating this year and making it a good year. It was a difficult year with COVID, but I think we did very well. So thank you all.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to see these photos. You've got some real talent in your club.
Thank you. I wanted to add one other thing. Ron Cooper's not on the call tonight, but he's one of our very, very best photographers. Ron has an exhibit at the Lone Tree Arts Center, which is familiar to a lot of people because they have the annual juried competition there, and a number of our club members have been there. This is a really, really interesting show that Ron did on Santa Clauses from all over the country. He photographed over 100 Santa Clauses in amazing portraitures and kind of stories that go along with some of their lives and some of the mystery and intrigue of Santa Claus. And it's really, really powerful and very emotional, particularly if you believe in Santa Claus, which of course I do. Well, I'm not going to tell you anything more. You just have to see it. It's really quite powerful.
I'm thinking the hours are 10 to 4, but check before you go. And-
That sounds right.
Okay.
Anyway, Ron wouldn't toot his own horn, but it's it's one of the most I don't know. I just keep using words like powerful and emotional and passionate things I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of great photography in that venue. This is really at another level, and it's not really just about portraits of Santa Claus. So go see it.
Thanks, Todd, and John, thanks very much for your judging and comments. It was great.
This is Carl here. Sorry to interrupt, John, but I will have information about that show for Ron in the December newsletter. And I just looked at the PDF file, the press release for it. And yes, Lone Tree is open from 10 to 4, Monday through Friday.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. If nothing else, have a great evening, and we'll see you in December, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, John.
Bye, everyone.
Yes, thank you, John. We appreciate it.